Hi guys, welcome to my channel where we talk about everything from tech to films and all the fun stuff in between. In today's video, let's look at that 2019 entry-level iPad and see if that is all the iPad which you'll ever need. So yes, if you aren't aware already, Apple released a minor update to that budget 2018 iPad which sold for £329 until September this year. Since launch, Apple iPads were always priced upwards of £400, so a price closer to that £300 was an amazing bargain, especially when it provided the same experience and same operating system as more expensive models. So let's look at what's new first. First up is the screen size. It went up from 9.7 inches to 10.2 inches. So not by that much, it's just enough to make it feel closer to that mid-spec iPad Air, which Apple sells at £479. Next up is the inclusion of that smart connector. You know, this side magnetic connector which allows you to dock Apple's keyboard accessories. And then it is that thing which Apple doesn't mention, and we do not get to know this unless we check Geekbench tests or teardowns on the iPad on YouTube videos, and that is the RAM. The 2018 iPad only had 2 gigs of RAM, whereas this year's iPad has 3, same as that mid-spec iPad Air. Oh, and then it also gets a £20 price bump in the UK. Why, you ask? Well, why not? In UK we pay more for everything compared to our friends on the other side of the pond. It is only £20. Is it significant enough even to mention that? Probably not. If that mid-spec iPad Air didn't exist, as any price increase on the entry-level iPad will bring it ever closer to that mid-spec iPad Air. And in comparison, that iPad Air is way better and more future-proof than the entry-level iPad. And as far as upgrades go, that's it. There is nothing else new with this device. Everything stays the same as the 2018 iPad, including that 3-year-old A10 Fusion chip. Granted that this is the first quad-core design chip which Apple introduced back with the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, but even if they would have bumped it to the A-level Bionic, it would have been a much easier option of choosing that one iPad which you'll ever need. So sadly, that is not the case, and the 2016 A10 chip is here to stay. So as you can see, the brief time I got to test the iPad, it performed adequately. Multitasking was smooth, and the iPad handled all basic tasks without an issue. You also get that excellent Touch ID, which I still feel is one of the best in the industry. And the camera at the back is the same 8-megapixel f2.4 aperture lens. It hasn't got the flash, and that is fine unless you want to use your iPad as the main camera. What is unforgiving is that front-facing camera, which to be honest is more useful on an iPad than the rear-facing one, because you can use it to make FaceTime calls or video chat. And this camera is the same crappy 1.2 megapixel camera which was introduced with the iPhone 5 in 2012. That is really outrageous. How are they even managing to secure parts for tech which is so old? Well, keeping the cost down is the major consideration here, so Apple wants to cut corners wherever possible. But for me personally, I would take a hit on that extra 0.5 inches screen size for a better front-facing camera any day. Let's look a little more detail into one of that newer additions, which is the inclusion of the smart connector on its side, because this only existed on the Pro models till now. So if you see, the iPad firmly clicks in place with this £159 keyboard case. It works seamlessly with the iPad. This really is the case with all first-party Apple accessories. They are expensive, but they integrate brilliantly. Same is the case with this first gen Apple Pencil. I was amazed to see how smooth and lag-free it worked. It almost felt very natural, but for this fluid, seamless accessory, you need to shell out another £89 more. You could probably save a bit of cash by going for this Logitech crayon at £47 on Amazon, which I haven't used it personally, but looking at the reviews, it seemed to work as good as the Apple Pencil, if not better. And even for that keyboard, you can find a Bluetooth keyboard case for about £30, which would probably not work as good as Apple's, but still it'll give you that tactile physical keyboard experience. Next, let's talk about that display, as that entry-level iPad gets a 264 ppi display, but without the anti-glare coating or laminated display as the iPad Air. If you see the videos, you can see more glare on the iPad as opposed to the iPad Air. Also, you can notice this gap between the glass and the display, which is not present on the iPad Air again. Actually, a small cheat here: if you go for the black entry-level iPad instead of other colors, this gap is not really that noticeable, as you can see in the videos here. More, you can see here, I've tried to run a few resource-intensive apps like iMovie, Microsoft Office, and the iPad handles them without any hiccup. So in conclusion, where do we stand? Is this 2019 iPad all the iPad you ever need? Let's check this out and see if this makes sense. The iPad starts at £349 here in the UK, and in America it's a nice $329. And the iPad Air starts at £479 or $499 in America. So the difference between them is about £130 or $170. And for that extra £130, you get double memory, you get an excellent A12 Bionic chip, which is more future-proof, you get anti-glare screen, and you also get laminated display. You get a brilliant front-facing camera at 7 megapixels instead of that crappy 1.2 megapixels. And the iPad Air is slightly thinner and lighter than that entry-level iPad, approximately about 30 grams lighter. So even if you price each of those upgrades at £25, the iPad Air seems like a really good bargain and is more future-proof. So guys, if you can't stretch your budget, then I recommend getting that iPad Air. It is really an amazing all-rounder and is more future-proof than that entry-level iPad. But if you're on a strict budget, then by all means the 2019 iPad is all the tablet you'll never need. It is brilliant for school-going children and teens who need a computer/tablet for school use. It would handle everything you throw at it like a pro and then some more. And the addition of that extra RAM with the 2019 model will help in every way. App will stay longer in the background without having the need to refresh, multitasking will be smoother, and everything else will run faster due to that extra RAM. For users wanting more power and graphical capability, you guys should head towards the iPad Pros. Also, a small parting thought: if you're not keen on that extra screen size or the extra RAM, then the 2018 iPad is still around and you might get it for a closer to £200 deal come Black Friday. And that an iPad which supports the recent iPad OS for about £200 is really an amazing deal. So definitely keep an eye for that. So those are my thoughts on the 2019 iPad. Hope it helps in making a decision and buying that right iPad which suits all your needs. So if you like my video, please hit that like button to show your support. And please leave your comments below to let me know your thoughts on this. And also please do subscribe and turn on that notifications bell so you can be up to date with all the videos which I post. And as always, thanks a lot for staying until the end. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.